Hello and welcome to the award-winning Evansville podcast. My name is Jason Burton. Thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. What we're talking about awards, I'll get to in a second. But first, on today's episode, we are speaking with Kevin Fleming, who is from First Presbyterian Church. He is talking about the upcoming public lecture by Mark Twain. He is performing on Saturday, March 18th at 7 p.m. There's information. Go to the show notes and find out information about where it is, costs, all that stuff. There's a pre-lecture dinner that they're raising money for a summer camp fund for their children's choir. So yeah, all the information's in this episode. Go to the Facebook event page that we link to in the show notes, and you will find out all the information. Make sure you attend that. In this episode, we talk a little bit about Mark Twain and how relevant he is in this present day and where Kevin's interest about Mark Twain comes from, as well as some other things about what he's found out about Mark Twain's thoughts on race, religion, lying, that kind of stuff. So, pretty interesting stuff. Check it out. Saturday, March 18th. Now, award-winning. We won. It was very surprising, actually. The Leadership Evansville Celebration of Leadership 2017 Evansville Podcast Network won in the Business or Organization, Government, and Public Service Award. So, thank you very much to Leadership Evansville. Thank you to Steve Berger for nominating us in the first place. And yeah, we were very surprised. It was a very unexpected win. And we are very thankful and humbled by it. And hopefully we can deserve it and earn it throughout the year upcoming. So, thanks. Let's get to my talk with Kevin Fleming. Well, thanks, Kevin, for coming over here. And so I know we were trying to figure out a good time to get this going. We want to make sure it gets out soon because it's happening soon.
It is.
The Mark Twain event at First Presbyterian downtown here. This is not the first year. I know you guys did at least one at a time.
We did it last year with a completely different set of batch of material.
Okay.
The thing that I've discovered is there's just so much, and you can't possibly do it all. It would you have to be there for a week. So this year's stuff is all of his, a good chunk of his stuff on religion.
Okay.
Which is just fantastic. It's brutal, but it's fantastic.
Yeah. So, so you don't shy away from the...
Oh, heck no.
Okay.
No, because it forces you to stop back and say, hey, wait a minute, that actually makes some sense. And what do I believe?
And what,
And so if anything, it helps you enter into a conversation with yourself about what do you believe and how do you live? And all the questions that I would, in my other occupation, be asking people to consider. The fact that Mark Twain is doing it, it's just brilliant. It's great stuff.
Yes, for those who don't know, other occupation is
pastor at First Presbyterian Church. Yeah,
so you do, you're invested in the religion
side.
A little.
Okay.
Now, Mark Twain. I mean, it's like he's been gone for a while, but yet still relevant today.
Unbelievable. He has a wonderful essay called On the Decay of the Art of Lying. Mm-hmm. And it is as though it could have been written yesterday. It is just that relevant. So there's a chunk about lying in the program. And his stuff on race, his stuff on government, it is timeless. And that's really the genius of Twain. A lot of our comedians today and satirical writers will tell a joke about a person today. In 30 years, that joke's dead. Mm-hmm. It's not relevant. Twain never picked on a particular person as much as he picked on the ideas.
Okay.
And so the ideas are timeless.
Right.
So a liar in 1880 is still the same kind of liar in 2017. So you don't talk about the liar, you talk about the lie. Mm-hmm. And he says, have you ever seen such a noble art so slovenly prostituted? They used to know how to lie really well. Now, I mean, we just have this terrible lying that there's no art to it. There's no finesse. There's no possible, did I mistakenly interpret what you said? No, it's just goofy lies that a child can say. That's a lie. Yeah, so he goes off on how you really we ought to teach lying in the public school, because what chance does an uneducated liar have against a lawyer? Right. So that's how he goes at it. And it's funny, but it also has that little hook shot that comes in at you that, boy, yeah, there's something to that.
Yeah.
And you're laughing because there is something to it.
Right. I always find the best comedies, like there's some truth rooted in there.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you become Mark Twain.
I become Mark
right?
Twain. Yeah.
Full on mustache.
Oh yeah. I've got a closet full of hair at home now, and the white suit. Mm-hmm. Even though he would have lectured in black tie and tails, which was the formal uniform of a lecturer for the day. Hal Holbrook, who has been doing Mark Twain longer than Mark Twain did Mark Twain, and that's actually true. When he put together Mark Twain Tonight, he went to the white suit. Mm-hmm. Twain went to the white suit following a copyright issue that happened with the copyright laws, and he wanted to extend it longer. The copyright law was only to exist for like 20 years or 25 years, and Twain went and testified before Congress about how this ought to be much longer.
Yeah.
And so he went in and he had his black coat on and he took it off and he was in the white suit, as if to say, "Look at me." And so he used to delight in wearing the white suit. He would greet people after church in New York City wearing his white suit on the street. So the white suit became
so that's this calling card, I guess.
That
right?
is,
so,
it is.
So where does this, you clearly are into the Mark Twain history and everything. Where does that come from? Where does this interest come from?
When I was in the 8th grade in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, outside of Pittsburgh, I don't know how I got there, but I remember being in a theater and a man in a white suit came out and started talking. Mm-hmm. And it was Hal Holbrook in Mark Twain Tonight. I went back to school the next day and started reading Tom Sawyer, then Huckleberry Finn, then A Connecticut Yankee. I read everything about Mark Twain and written by Mark Twain in my school library, and it's never stopped. So I now have collections of his speeches and all these. I got about 8 feet of shelf space in my house. It's nothing but Mark Twain. About 4 years ago, Mr. Holbrook came to Evansville and did Mark Twain Tonight, and I got to have dinner with him afterwards, which was like not even on my bucket list because it seemed so impossible. And it was phenomenal. Mm-hmm. And then 2 years after that, I got to go backstage and see him at Henderson. And he's amazing. Hal is over 90 now.
Yeah.
He decides what he's going to do in his program in the shower that morning. He has it all in there. It's all in his memory. He's been doing it for 60 years. I don't have that kind of time. If maybe in 60 years I would be 120, I might be able to do that too.
Sure.
But Holbrook was the one that started me, just having that experience. And at first I was like, "Who is this guy?" And then the more he talked, and in the old program, he used to do the first chapter of Huckleberry Finn, which was like, wow, because his voice changed and his mannerisms changed, his appearance changed, and it was just him still on stage. One guy on stage for almost 2.5 hours, and I wanted more. Mm-hmm. It was phenomenal. So when my children came home when they were in high school, they came home with Huckleberry Finn. And they said, "We don't know what this is about." And I said, "You don't know about me, except you read a book by The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. That book was written by Mr. Mark Twain. He told the truth, mainly." And they're looking at me like, "What's wrong with you?" I said, "This is maybe the most important American novel ever written. Read it." And Huckleberry's had a sort of touch and go history with school systems.
Right.
And I don't think younger high school students should be reading it, but I think by the time you're a senior in high school, you ought to be reading Huckleberry Finn, because it still puts the mirror up to our face as a nation with how are we going to deal with the issue of race.
Yeah.
An issue that's become even more important in current time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And because it is jarring. It's a jarring read.
Yeah, it really is. And of course, the N word is used a lot, but that was the history at that point, and we need to just kind of, put on our adult hats for a minute and say, there are a lot of other words and a lot of other books that we wouldn't want to use either, but it's important for us to see it and enter into that conversation and have an understanding. And it's very interesting, when Twain decided he wanted to go to the South again. So he went on a riverboat partway down Mississippi. He was going to go to New Orleans. In the middle of the trip, he got back on another ship, headed north to Minneapolis, got off, went to Elmira, and began writing Huckleberry Finn. What he saw in Reconstruction so shook him that he went back and wrote this amazing novel of American life following the Civil War.
Yeah. It reminds me, just that the loaded terms in that book, reminds me of when the Civic Theater here in town did To Kill a Mockingbird last year. Had the same issue with, with that. And it's just so... I mean, I know that even like that, I can imagine how the actors would have to, say these lines and
it's really, just from my limited experience as an actor, it's really hard to say those things that are so diametrically opposed to what you believe.
Right.
But you're not that person. You're being a character. And the point of any good literature, whether it's a play, a book, music, whatever, is to engage you and to get you to start thinking again. And Huckleberry Finn still does that for me. Every time I read it, I find the piece that I just loved, and it took me a long time to have it pointed out or to figure it out however it came along. But the key moment in the book is when Huckleberry has to decide whether or not he's going to turn his escaped slave friend Jim into the authorities. And he's been taught in school, in church, and everywhere else that slavery is good and these people are property and that's the way it ought to be. And if you don't believe that, you're going to hell. And Huckleberry is in this moment and he says, all right then, I'll go to hell. Yeah. And he doesn't turn Jim in. That's where we want to get to. Yeah. That's where we want to get to. And the book helps us do that.
Yeah. So the performance, you've got it. It's you said it's all his thoughts on religion. So do you have this all prepared? This isn't like an improv or anything?
No, it's all prepared. I do a lot of research.
Right.
I've got several binders of stuff that I think someday or other will work their way into some kind of a program. But I'm going to do a chunk of the Diary of Adam and Eve, where Adam is supposedly kept a diary, and an archaeologist friend of Twain's, this is how he built it up, hands him this material and he interprets it, and it's hysterical. He gets to be, like in the very first entry, he says, fair today, chance of rain tomorrow, we better be ready. Where did I get that word? Oh, that's right. The creature uses it. Yeah. And so there's, Cain, they think Cain is a bear when he shows up, and they have no idea. So it's just, that's delightful stuff. And then there's a letter that he wrote to Andrew Carnegie requesting money for a hymn book. And then there's a piece about who Twain thinks God is. And it is masterful. Masterful. He's a pretty good theologian in the long run too. It's one of the things I'm backing into, but it's really good stuff.
So First Presbyterian does a lot of different things like this. Like there's the silent movies around Halloween time, and we had Robert on last year to talk about that. And throughout the year, I noticed you do things like on First Fridays.
Sure.
And, even yoga and stuff like that as well. So usually, I guess it's common that organized religion and the arts don't necessarily go together. Lately, let's say,
yeah. Had it not been for, quote, organized religion,
right,
we wouldn't have the arts, okay? If you go back in history, the arts and religion should walk hand in hand. Mm-hmm. I mean, the music of the church, whether it's ancient, modern, contemporary, high church, low church, whatever, some of the greatest composers in civilization have written for the church. One of the ways in a pre-literate society that the church accomplished its work was through stained glass, which painted the pictures of stories. And typically, if you go to the cathedrals of Europe, you read the window up, and it will tell you the story without a single word. You just see the images. You've got these incredible morality plays that used to be played out on the steps of the church outside in order to teach the stories, because nobody had a Bible, and even if they did, they couldn't read the darn thing. So the arts have always been a part of the church's life and should continue to be. And so we find ourselves at the very cusp of the Haney's Corner Art District, mm-hmm, and now 2 blocks the other way, a medical school is going to go in. So we have this church of a different bent that believes that art and science have something to say, mm-hmm, in conversation with what we believe. So we're kind of getting excited that, all of a sudden we're almost like a Renaissance church again. Who knew, So everything old is new again, and it's exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting time to be down
oh,
here.
It's wonderful. Wonderful.
Sure. Yeah. So you mentioned earlier you're not from Evansville.
No.
But you've been here
I've been here 20 years.
20 years. Okay. So you're almost accepted then, I guess, at this point.
Almost being the operative word.
Right,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Not quite.
Yeah. I will never be completely accepted. Let's be clear, Jason.
Right.
I'm a stranger in a strange land,
yes,
and I've accepted that. My role as an exile is firmly established.
Something I usually like to ask is, especially from people who aren't from here, is there something you wish we had in Evansville that we don't have currently?
That's a great question.
Thanks. I'm really good at this.
You are. I wish we had a greater sense of community.
Yes.
I wish that a simple little creek were not such a divisive force.
Yeah.
We need to be able to celebrate everything that's going on that west side, east side, north side, whatever side. And there's sort of a territorialness that I've noticed. And it's like, this is our part of the town. You don't have anything to say about it. Well, which part of the baby is ours? You're back to Solomon. Okay.
Right.
We can chop the baby up and we can each have a piece, or we could say, this is our child, this is our home, and we're not going to chop it up, and we're going to be as great as any place else. The potential in this town is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Mm-hmm. And if we harnessed that and channeled it all in the same direction, they would say, where's Indianapolis? We've heard of Evansville. Where's Indianapolis? Can you imagine such a conversation taking place? If you can't, it's because you haven't accepted the idea that Evansville has more going for it than it's willing to admit. So a sense of community. I wish there was a stronger sense of community here.
Yeah,
see, this is the problem when you invite a preacher.
No,
I'm just telling you.
You're fine. Well, that is. I mean, being downtown, it kind of ties back to the Haney's Corner, Main Street Medical School. I mean, This is probably the most community-ish area I've ever been a part of. Now, I can't say I've lived on every street in every neighborhood.
But they're pulling together in these, right. You look at Franklin Street, incredible work going on over there.
Yep.
You look at Haney's Corner. This has taken years to get this going. I just had my daughter over in Dayton where her grandmother lives, and I took her down to the Oregon district of Dayton. Now, 20 years ago when I left Dayton, the Oregon district was just at about the place where Haney's Corner is now.
Okay.
And they had to clean out some smut shops and other things. But now you have this incredible bricked street with extraordinary restaurants and shops and things. And it's like one of the happening neighborhoods of Dayton. So I kind of watch what's going on in Dayton because it's a little bit bigger and a little more diversified. But you can see, I said to Abigail, you look here. This is Haney's Corner in 20 years. Mm-hmm. This is what it's going to look like. It's just going to be extraordinary. So all these things that are going on in neighborhoods, Jacobsville getting their act together up there. I mean, that's exciting. The stuff on that North Main Street corridor, that's going to just transform that area. So there's lots of cool things going on, and we need to celebrate it all as Evansville and not these little neighborhood projects.
Yeah.
And that's I think we're going to get there. I think we've got the kind of leadership and the kind of visionary folk in town that's going to make that happen. So
yeah. Well, I will tie this back to Mark Twain.
Yeah.
This is happening March 18th. It's a Saturday night.
Saturday night.
It starts at 6 with the
kids. Yeah, this is to benefit the scholarship fund for the Royal School of Church Music. Our kids go off to camp in the summertime, and so they're going to serve a soup supper at 6 o'clock, and then go into the sanctuary. And Mr. Twain will be lecturing in there. He never liked to lecture in churches because he's afraid people wouldn't laugh. But I do not have a hesitant moment about the fact that they're going to laugh.
Right. You have some experience there.
Have some experience there, yeah. It's one of the greatest sounds inside a church is laughter.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, authentic laughter is good.
It's the best.
It's a good sound. And this is a one night only thing.
One night only thing, man. I got Easter's coming, man. I got other gigs to do, Man,
it's a pretty important day for the church. So yeah, I can see that. Thanks again to Kevin for coming on the show and talking to us about Mark Twain and his performance that Kevin is doing as Mark Twain on September 18th. Look forward to that. Also, once again, thanks to Leadership Evansville and the Celebration of Leadership Award. It's crazy. But so we're going to be insufferable for a little while. Hopefully you'll bear with us. Check out some of our previous episodes. And also this week, we'll be launching Season 2 of the Beyond Repair Show. More information on that coming up later in the week. Thanks, and good job, everybody.